This is Cast of Wonders, the fiction podcast for young adults featuring stories of the fantastic. Welcome. Episode 137, September 14th, 2014. Our story for you this week is The Filigreed Cage by Crystal Claxton. Crystal writes speculative fiction in the sliver of time between raising a 4-year-old with her unreasonably awesome husband and being a full-time computer technician. She enjoys attending DragonCon in costume, science magazines, and feverishly researching whichever random topic has just piqued her interest. You can keep up with her at her website or on Twitter. She's at Crystal Claxton, and we'll have links for both of those in the show notes for you. Crystal has a few upcoming releases. Her story, The Newsboys' Last Stand, is coming out in Unidentified Funny Objects 3 on October 1st. And another story, Bitter Remedy, was released in Plasma Frequency magazine number 13 earlier this month. Your narrator for the story is Andrew Clark. A.P. Clark is a London-based artist who writes songs, tells stories about his cat, and runs the Nine Worlds Film Festival, a convention I cannot recommend highly enough. He worries he doesn't have enough time to do all the important things in life, like drinking. And now, we've a tale to tell.
The Filigreed Cage by Crystal Claxton. I don't understand why you're doing this. Valeria spoke in hushed tones, though no one other than Nolan was within earshot. Because I can. Nolan's fingers worked against the cuff on his wrist with a slim metal splinter. Nolan, please, can we talk about this? Just wait a moment. She glanced around the park. Beyond the walkway, short trees basked in the artificial light of the dome. The cuff was a gift from the overseers, one of many they had bestowed upon humanity since the Fail. It provided everyone with instructions and guidance. Her fingers nervously traced the intricate filigree of her own cuff. She remembered her 10th birthday, when she'd been blessed with the title of wife, and Nolan's name had appeared in delicate scroll. For 7 years they'd shared the room in her mother's house, and in all those years he'd been a perfect husband, had defended her virtue, honored her mother, comforted her fears. In just a few more days she would finally be old enough for the title of mother, and all of his patience would be rewarded. She had been excited for that day, nervous, but excited. Her throat constricted against the sweet smell of the park's freshly mown lawn as she watched him struggle against the cuff, against their marriage. She thought he'd been happy with her, but this earnest determination proved otherwise. She did not know what he would face beyond the dome, alone. No one did. Valeria tried to think of the things she could say to change his mind, but all that came out was, "Do you hate me so much?" He paused. His perfect grey eyes peered at her from under his brow. Then he set to prying again. With a resonant hiss, his cuff fell away, bouncing lightly against the concrete walkway. They arrived within heartbeats. The overseers, tall and naked with gaunt limbs, shimmering skin, and too many eyes. The foremost addressed Nolan.
Your species has been placed under our protection until you can pass the tests. To refuse our gifts is exile beyond the dome. Do you understand this?
Yes. Please, she did not say. He doesn't understand. He doesn't know what he's done. But she could not say these things. These things were untrue. He glanced back only once as they led him away. Valeria lay listless on her bunk. Mother combed light fingers through her hair. Nolan's own mother had been beyond grief when Valeria explained Nolan was gone. "It's all right, my love," Mother cooed. "It will never be all right." Though she stared unmoving at the bunk above, Nolan's bunk, she could hear the smile in Mother's voice. "Of course it will be. The overseers will select another for you, and he'll be just as good. Nolan is my husband. By this time tomorrow you'll have a new husband, and by this time next week you'll have a baby growing inside you. Mark my words." Mother patted her shoulder. "Cry no tears for Nolan. He was a fool." Mother had been right. A new husband was selected. He might have even been a nice husband, but she didn't want another. She wanted Nolan. And even if he didn't want her, she could not stand her new husband's smile or his eyes on her face. She clutched the thick needle between finger and thumb, probing and attacking her cuff's hinges until it sighed in release. Outside the dome, lush vegetation sprawled over rolling hills in every direction. The pristine blue sky was brighter than the artificial light inside the dome, its warmth comforting. Opposite the exit portal gleamed a metallic structure, all filigreed beauty. Valeria's breath caught in her throat as she approached and saw Nolan sitting on the grass outside the overseer's structure. Though she'd vowed to be calm and collected if she found him, her voice broke free. "Nolan!" His head snapped up, and then he was on his feet rushing towards her. She worried he might knock her over, but he stopped just short, scooping her up in his arms and spinning her once before settling her back to the ground. He took her face in both of his hands. His fingers trembled against her skin. "I didn't know if you would come." Her brow crinkled. "But I thought you didn't. I don't understand. Why did you leave if you wanted me?" He stroked her cheek with his thumb, a sad smile playing across his features. "I wanted you to have a choice." Her vision blurred as she nodded, pressing her lips into a tight line. He kissed her forehead. When she was ready, they approached the overseer's structure. A disembodied voice announced,
"Congratulations. Self-determination is the first requirement for sapience. Would you like to proceed to the second test?"
The end.
When I first read this story, it left me reeling. So many things happen in such a short span of time, but each was so succinctly, perfectly executed that you didn't realize them all until the story ends and your mind catches up. Then all the tumbling concepts lock into a seamless whole, threaded with more questions. How did the aliens come to create this society? What's the next test? Or, taking a more sinister interpretation to the piece, is this the island for escapees in 1984? The place set up to catch those who slip through society's cracks. The story also reminded me a bit of The Gift of the Magi, a famous short story about a couple who each sell their prized possession to buy a gift for the other, not realizing their partner has done the same thing. Another way to look at it is through the lens of a newer trope to surface in YA stories: arranged marriages, sadly especially in works where the female protagonist isn't Caucasian. Valeria wants to marry Nolan, which is why she follows him. Nolan doesn't not want to marry Valeria, but he wants proof the union is her choice. It's a subtle and powerful parody of both agency and gender. Join us next week for Things We Leave Behind by Alex Fartzman, our Banned Book Week special. If you've enjoyed these stories, please consider lending a hand in supporting podcast fiction. Leave us and this piece a review on iTunes or on our Facebook page, and share the episode with others. You can find us on Twitter at Cast of Wonders. And please consider making a donation via the PayPal links available on our site. 100% of our donations cover our bandwidth costs and purchase stories. Every little bit helps, and you have our heartfelt thanks for helping us keep bringing you the best in young adult audio fiction week after week. Cast of Wonders is a production of Wolfsbane Publishing and is brought to you by the creative team of Barry J. Northern, our publisher and artist, Alan Sale, our audio producer, and I remain, as always, your humble editor and host, Marguerite Kenner. Our episodes are released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license. Share it all you like, but no changes, please. Our theme, Appeal to Heavens, is by Alexei Nov from musicalley.com. Thanks for listening.